Good afternoon, it's cooking time with Dave. That's right. I'm known for my blue hair, but I lost my another one, so I got a permanent treatment of my hair. That's right. So here's what we got. We're just going to throw a bunch of soup items into the pot. Let's show you around a little bit the soup items. Here's some soup items. This ones here. So all we have done is we take some onions and we chop off the ends of it. We want to get rid of the worst part, but we're not going to be fussy about it. That's the whole thing about cooking time with Dave. He says, I'm not going to be fussy. I'm going to take these onions, throw them in the pot. You can imagine it yourself. I just did it over there. Now my accent is unstable. Well, this is a reflection of my inner state, no doubt. So that's fine. Chop it like that. Get off this, although I wanted to put it in to see if it made a nice colouring, but then I don't want this bit in my mouth because it's going to get stuck on the roof of my mouth. That's going to be an irritation, so I don't want to deal with that. Oh no, it's a dox. That's the worst of it. Oh no, it's really quite awful. All right, so here we go. There we go. There's 2 onions. We're doing 2 potatoes, large russet potatoes, the cheap ones. Okay, these are the cheapest onions. These are the cheapest peanuts. That's my protein for today. That and some bit of dairy. We'll probably have some, what's it called, quesadillas for lunch. Now this is going to take longer to cook if you don't cut it up, of course, but I got all fucking day, so what the fuck do I care? Do you have to talk like that, David? Yes, I do. Alright, now what? There's a piece of junky part. You want to chop it more? I don't know. Let's let the onion unravel on its own terms, have we? Let's not ruin the onion metaphor. We've ruined 2 out of 3 onion metaphors. Of course, you can see how that goes. But, there's another one that's more whole. Into the pot it goes. There's 3 onions, 2 potatoes. Let's chop these into 3 bits each. The whole point of this is not to belabor it, just put the food in the pot. Dave's theory of cooking is, here, let's do another dox. Here it goes. Food plus heat equals meals. That's the way I like it. So here's what we're going to do now. We've got 2 potatoes, 3 onions, 5 cloves or teeth of garlic. I once had a roommate who told me the whole thing is the clove and each piece is called a tooth. And I've never heard it corroborated since. I think he was being superfluously, pompous in a way that didn't quite work out. I know, I warned you about the unstable accent, didn't I? Yes, I did. I'm not putting the ends of the garlic in. I don't want those. I don't really like chopping garlic because it's sticky, but I do like the smell of it. I do. My grandmothers did not like garlic. Mostly it was my dad's mum. She hated and feared garlic her whole life. And my mum's mum, she hated and feared cats her whole life. Until the end of her life, she went on board with the whole garlic thing as well. And she used to have a restaurant, I know it was only Pennsylvania, but my God, you've got to have some garlic on occasion. Am I wrong about it? Even the fancy-fearing Anabaptist people. Did you know that the Amish are radically democratic? They're not like Presbyterians who elect representatives of elders to rule. They're not like Episcopalians, which are ruled by a self-selecting priesthood, which is more or less an aristocratic model. No. They just do everything direct democracy, the barn raising and all that. Of course, it's only the men, not the women, but And what about the middle ones? They don't recognize that whatsoever. No, why would they do so? They're not those kinds of people. That's what they think. But then they have deviants, no doubt. Who have to stay deep underground till they go to the city. To their credit, they throw them out for a while. They say, listen, you go to the city. If it's for you, then you enjoy that, have it. But of course they'll be ostracized. I don't know that for certain, but it's sort of implied, isn't it? It's sort of is in. Oh, I forgot about my microphones. That's the problem. Yeah, we've got to get those going. We're going to have doxifications. It's going to be very unwieldy. So that's just how it's going to be going. So I'm putting in, this is my DJI Mark IIs. It's really quite lovely. It's just the USB-C for the Android and now the modern Apples, but my Apples are not modern, you know, they're only a 14 and a 12. I got one from work, it's not my fault. Okay, so here's this one. These lovely little buggers have these little things that stop the shushy sounds. Those little delightful things, those little puffy things. But the problem is that those little puffy bits get in between the two bits of plastic, making it not as clicked on as you'd like. But then you just move on and you say, well, you know, it might be imperfect, and that's just the way it's going to be. That's how we have it. Cooking time with Dave. The pot is getting on. Look at that. Can you hear it? I don't think so. Oh, you've got to put this inside there. You've got to turn it on because it turns itself off sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. You hold the button for a goodly while. There it comes. You put it in here. Oh, no. You've got... Oh, no, it didn't even do the confirmation thing. How peculiar. Now, where's my little orange dot? It's down there. No. Where's my little orange dot? I don't see it. It's going to dox me for a second. No, that's not it. This is this one. Has it killed itself? No, it's still running. Then here comes the dox. Okay, wasn't that fun? I've got ogre teeth for real. Listen, Ma, come on back and cut up some potatoes with me. Okay, now what? Oh yes, the garlic. Back to the garlic station. Here we go. There you go, there's the garlic station over there. And we do it like the fancy cooks on the television. We do like this. But I swear to God, I almost cut my hand one time because it goes like this or something. Not what you'd call an experienced chef. Oh, there it goes. It's just easier to peel. And since you were going to likely want it minced or something anyways. Or on occasion, you know, the old rough chop, they call it. Alright, there's some of it. Get those skins off of there because they're not tasty, they don't have colour. No reason to put it in the soup, except for really want to be crude about it for no good reason. Then you could put the skins in, I suppose. They might have more chemicals on, it's also true, but I really don't give a shit about chemicals. I'm tired of being afraid of my food, my water and my air. I've had it with that and I won't do it anymore. So, we've got that going for you. Alright. 5 cloves of garlic, we just call it cloves. Into the pot. Remember, 2 potatoes, 3 onions. Excuse me, there was supposed to be 4 cloves of garlic, but then they broke off from the head of garlic. In a way they had 3 clump and 2. Now I've given up the story. This is all done except for these peanuts. It's the cheapest nuts in the store. It's like, I don't remember, but I'm going to put peanuts in my soup because that's my meat. Oh, and I almost forgot the mushrooms, but these can wait a bit. I think these can go a bit later. And you know what? I checked the price. If you buy these loose, and you have to wash and cut them yourself, it's the same price per ounce as these ones that are sliced, likely by robots. I don't know if it's robots, but at White Mill we could very well be robots. Alright, so now we're going to shell these peanuts. Yeah? There goes one. They are salted, I know, because I haven't purchased any salt. I did buy unsalted butter, you know. How would they know? Of course, now they know. I don't know how much is enough. Maybe I'll use them all. There is a pleasure to these rustic things, you know. There is. There's a pleasure to rustic things. That's all I want to say about it. Alright, fine. They want me to rectify for a short time. This one I rectify like so. Now, my improv teacher disparaged not even an accent, but an allusion to an accent, saying, "Oh, that's such a '90s thing, you know. Just accent as character. It's very 90s, it's very one-dimensional or something like that." And I was like, "Well, you know, gets me out of my skin, so why not do it?" And he probably would have said, "Good on you. Have at it. Go right ahead." All right. So, um, this one's quite small. Let's eat it. It's crunchy. That ought to be crunchy. Nicely roasted, very salty. Not that salty. Nicely roasted, that's all. I was eating the goods. What's the point of cooking if you can't sample the goods? Exactly. So, this is a single peanut. There was no double on that one. No, you could say it's tedious, you could say it's therapeutic. The bits are messy, I don't like that very much. This one's very rough. Yeah, the rest of it on this one, very small one. There is it. You can't see it, can you? No, I don't think so. Can you see anything that I'm doing? Yes, they see. It's not mukbanging yet. We'll do that in a while. I can hear that thing boiling away. This old gas stove is really quite efficient with the type of steel pots we've got here. It's somewhat like an Airbnb, but not exactly. A verbal is more like a verbal. I like to say verbal. They're a cut above Airbnbs, you know. But they're hard to find nowadays because all the cities have banned them because the hotel lobbies have said, no, you mustn't. It's terrible for us. So, you know, that's how that went. I think it's sort of atrocious that they're regulating trade between private individuals so intrusively. I don't believe in an unregulated society, I don't. But, you know, it ought to be large corporations that are regulated more so than small businesses, of course. If they're not regulated, they'll try to get away with everything, and they likely will. And that's, of course, what they want. Dump the poison in the river and all that. All right. This is really quite tedious here. Well, I'm sort of enjoying it, but it's stressing me out that I hear the pot boiling. I've never boiled roasted peanuts. Why would I have done such a thing? These are going to really quite disappear unless you save them for the very end. Okay. So, my grocery haul included $2.50 a gallon of milk. For some reason, it was 1% generic, so to say, brand on sale, you know, on discount, on special, you could say. I got these peanuts for about $2.50. It's about, you know, 10 ounces, and a good percentage of that is not really food. It's this, but this is really not very dense. The shells, the outer, whatever that's called, the sheath, perhaps. No, so it's probably half a pound for $2, $3. Not terrible for protein. Of course, it's not pure protein, but listen, I'm a big believer in the placebo effect and all the other SIBOs. In other words, mind over matter. It doesn't fix everything, but, you know, it's very significant. I think it tilts probabilities quite a bit. Attitude and belief, and even statements, you know, even if they're not really that well ingrained as beliefs, if you just tell yourself, well, this is like a meaty soup because it's got peanuts,
your body is more likely to interpret it in such a way. Now, take the example of soda. There's been lots of studies in recent years, at least several. They made the big news, which is that uh, diet sodas cause as much obesity as sugary sodas. But of course, it's funky chemicals. So when I started reading those articles, I said, well, I don't drink a lot of soda, but if I do, I just want the sugar. I don't want the chemicals, I'd rather have the sugar. No hate on chemicals, we're chemists, no doubt. But, that's how I have it. I call it CGFP. Oh no, CGFP. Current Good Family Practices, Current Good Fatherly Practices, CGFP. It's my trademark Circle P. And, yeah. Well, what's it mean? It means you kind of try to be reasonable about it. Try not to poison yourself, make, a modicum of second guessing, and then move on. That's enough for survival purposes in the zombie apocalypse that's upon us. Speaking of which, last night I saw this movie. It wasn't as great as the preview suggested it might be, but it was called, what was it? Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. So it was, I would say, it was in the genre of time loop movies, like 12 Monkeys, of course Groundhog Day, the one with Tom Cruise, Something Tomorrow, Edge of Tomorrow or something, I think it was. And although not a time loop movie, the very recent, very excellent, philosophically very spot on, very shamanic, very excellent, very Buddhist even, and that would be Everything Everywhere All at Once. That movie extremely well comports with my sense of psychedeliasis, of psychedelic insight, is Everything Everywhere All at Once. That, in other words, the fundamental structure of the cosmos is order. It's just conflate the words chaos and order, and then say it's perpetual. Think of tight loops, and then you can always imagine long loops of different variations. But, when you have encountered psychedeliasis on a number of occasions, as indeed I have, you start to contemplate, well, what's the worst case scenario? What's the really, really terrible short loop? What's the hell flash? How do you get stuck? And how might you get out of various kinds of hell flashes, psychologically, or in a movie like Everything Everywhere All at Once. And you do lots of silly, ridiculous things. You enjoy your moments. Like the main character in that movie. He's always pausing to eat a Twinkie or to have a glass of wine or to... He ate, uncooked spaghetti because it was there. It's from a future apocalypse where everything's terrible. So, of course, it reminds me of Dustin Hoffman in this wonderful movie about 20 years ago with Will Ferrell and Emma Thompson, Queen Latifah, and the lady who reminds me of Edna. She's the psychiatrist, and she's really quite priestess, and not in a good way. And Dustin Hoffman, he's having an interview with Will Ferrell, and he's doing a shamanic function, basically. And he's enjoying his yogurt, and he's scraping the bottom. It's very obnoxiously not sharing, I guess, is part of it. I don't know if it's skillful means. I think he's trying to teach him, sensual joys or something like that. Now, should I just do the whole pack? Yeah, messy. I don't know. Let's go take a look at the soup, shall we? Alright, here's the soup. Can you see the soup? There it is, bubbling away. Hello, Marka, how you doing? Okay. No, there's nothing incriminating on the wall. Well, it's getting to be a bit brothy. The onion skins and potato skins are put a sort of yellowish, maybe beginning towards beige or tan colour. Looks satisfactory. I don't know what's next. I think you've got to boil those quite a goodly while. That's what I think.
Well, should I crack some more peanuts? I think the protein's not enough, yeah. Maybe we do the whole satchel, the whole cooking time with Dave. Okay, so here we're back to this station, and we're going to just do the rest of it, I guess. I don't know if we'll use all of the mushrooms, but at the end we're going to put some butter, some 1% milk, which is $2.50. These were also about $2.50. What else was $2.50? The cheese was the cheapest cheese, the butter was the cheapest butter. I got regular celery and 1 ear of corn. And I think what I'll do is, I think I want to, just put it out there. I think what I want to do is to cook the corn in the soup broth as it's cooking, and then extract the corn and eat it like corn on the cob. Dave, hello. We saw your face. You're in big trouble. I'm always in big trouble. What's the difference? Can we go back and rectify? I'm tired of your junk, baby dog. So let's just slow it down. I'm more along the lines of the shepherding population. You got your hunter-gatherers, which we prefer to call secret finders. Gender bias, rejected. Shepherds, likewise. Actually, we felt for quite some time that, well, in the broadest conceivable sense, transgenderism, in other words, any, you could say, biologically inefficient mode of love and such is a form of transgenderism. That will offend the moderns because, you know, they have the vocabularies are very strict. But shepherds were alone a lot with the animals, protecting them from predators and wandering around looking for streams and grass, basically. Maybe some other sorts of shrubs, I don't know. And that's sort of the medial option. There's 3 cardinal forms of human organization. Secret finder, like Çatalhöyük, maybe it is. Look it up. Catalhoyuk, but with a bunch of funny accents on it. Well, they were sedentary, so they were not nomadic. But there were nomadic shepherds. You could say cowboys as well, but shepherds is a little more iconic. Well, it's more biblical. The cowboy is the successor to the shepherd. That is true. So, what's a bison herder called? I don't know. A bison herder? Maybe. That's a big funky one. I'm gonna eat it. Crunchy. So, we could run it through the TV. I just signed up for an Apple TV 30-day promotion, but I don't have the device. It's really quite good for that screencasting. Android's a pain in the ass. Well, you could probably do it. I don't know. I haven't mastered it. It's not as seamless, and I don't want to deal with it. I acknowledge Apple's better at a few things. All right, fine. So shepherds. And the third, of course, is farming. Fully sedentary because you need, although you should be rotating crops, so, you know, but this goes to territorialism and the shit show we call history. And there's been many benefits of that, of course, and many drawbacks. And I'm of the opinion, the studied assessment,
that the human species needs to reintegrate the three cardinal styles of human society. I see shepherding, which is nomadic at least, or maybe semi-nomadic, what they call it, seasonally nomadic. Um, we need to decriminalize nomadism. We need to use BLM lands first and foremost, maybe national forests as havens. There needs to be some modicum of regulation. So I am proposing as part of my presidential campaign platform. It's just kind of spitballing, but I'll stick with it just to get some juices going. That if you want to be nomadic, there's going to be you have to join the guild, like a union. You must get a union card, which is easy to do. You must tolerate existence of photo identification, preferably to avoid electronic components, because not every culture is amenable to a lot of electronics, nor should they be. Because electronics, as amazing as they are, as empowering as they can be, are also corrosive. A point made very, very, bluntly in this film I saw last night. Good luck, have fun, don't die. So there's going to be a nomads guild. You're going to have some form of identification. Maybe there's options, but we can't have it be a caste system based on the ones that are willing to have a chip on their card at a higher caste, higher privilege somehow. That's no good. That's corrosive. I don't want it. So I think that they should not have any electronics. They could have some holograms or something like they have on. Well, the California driver's license has no electronics. It's got some fancy printing, but that's it. That's okay. It doesn't bother me. It's fine. So we'll do that. And all right, fine. And then they got to be basically self-policing in a CGFP kind of a way. So in the same way that GMPs work in the pharmaceutical and to some degree in the supplement and food industries, which I don't think have as stringent of an inspection regimen as pharmaceuticals do, for weird reasons. Who knows? Well, here's what I learned about CGMP. You write what you do and you do what you write. Now, the problem with respect to, well, just make it oral tradition. You do what you say what you do. And, there's a basic integrity to that, to representing your way of life and your methods. And you transmit methods, you share methods. It's a survival situation. And I don't intend for these people to be outcast in the manner of Brave New World. I'm just saying we need to legalize nomadism, and I'm just coming up with whatever I can come up with. Because cities don't want them. But how are they going to have food? Are we going to have food drops like in Lost? The airplane comes, the show Lost, and it drops parachute packages with basic staples, But you're going to give them, they're going to have hunting licenses and stuff. But how do you make sure they don't overhunt? I don't know. Well, I don't have all the answers, but I got some straw man proposals to get people thinking. They're not utterly straw man. They're not intended to be torn down and thrown away, but they're not Elizabeth Warren level, not by a long shot. No. So this country needs a middle. What about address? So what are the trappings of a modern identity, of a digital age identity? Well, the easiest thing is an email account. Gmail's kind of the standard. Maybe I'll federalize it. Just do that, you know. Although Google has been, I would say, pretty non-evil. Well, the evilest thing is the whole copyright enforcement. It's way too strict. They should just automatically extract royalties. It's far more sensible. What else? Well, we also want to put people in the least populous states and have them be registered voters. And we're going to force it down there, jam it down their fucking throats. Because they need to be accommodating. Yep. We'll deal with the Electoral College by moving people around who don't want to be fixed in place. We'll work with them. They're going to have religious freedoms with respect to plant medicines. Basically, it's built into the guild membership with a certain degree of flexibility. It's an option, not mandatory. Well, getting the card is, well, we'll have to think it out. It has to be RFRA compliant. And it will be, it's easy. I'm RFRA compliant. I just teach how I do it. That's true. You should not betray your sources. But don't be a source to others. That's just going to get you in trouble. Use your sacraments appropriately. Have a schedule. Have a tolerance management program. Have some, some ethos, some logos, puithos, pathos, and thesos about it. That's how you have a well-rounded set of ideas that guides a way of life. Makes it transmissible when you codify it, whether in writing or otherwise. You can codify it by epic poems memorized around a fire. Of course, those are going to change more. But no matter what they say, oral tradition is amenable to being changed. They always claim that it's unchanged since always, but that's, of course, bullshit. I'm sorry, just there's no evidence for that, and I don't believe it. I'm not against oral tradition, I just want to be realistic that it's going to change every generation. It's going to tweak, like the game of telephone. And that's fine, it's adaptable. But pretending that it's been since always, I think that's probably just a reaction to people of the book who came in and ruined everything. That's Toparina, she knows that. She'll talk your ear off. At a bare minimum. I guess we're doing all the peanuts. I guess so. I'm gonna shell the whole thing. Am I shucking it? Or shelling it? Or what? I don't know. I don't give a damn. So, yeah, well, we're just going to keep at it. We could speed it up, I guess. Might be more comedic. We're putting all the peanuts in a soup. It's not hypoallergenic. No. Sorry. So, I don't know. The point is, nomads have to figure out how to be self-regulating. we can have some starting ideas, but you can't. I'm corrupt. I'm civilizational. I'm born and raised in suburban environments. I have lived in urban environments, and so my perspective is citified. This aspect of my psyche has come forward and become stronger because I needed to start to mitigate my citification, my city slickerness. Note the button shirt, and it's lavender no less. So watch out. Oh, it's an allusion to political mediality. Because why wouldn't it be? That's right. I could get a darker purple maybe at some point. That's fine. But then, beware the royalty, right? That's right. Ask Caesar about the purple. Does he recommend it? Probably not. You know which one. I wonder if Octavian, did he pivot away from Phoenician purple? Maybe start blaming Canaanites for everything. You know, siphon some goons away from anti Semitism with a sort of primordial iteration of that.